Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, right? It's 5 o'clock somewhere. And I hate doing these types of stories. I really do. First off, let me just say, before I even get started on this, RIP to this young lady, okay? RIP to this young lady, Lauren Juma, okay? And, my deepest condolences to her family. Unfortunately, when stuff like this happens, sometimes it's just crazy to me how the person that does something so drastic and so disgusting is the one that, is left standing in the end and sometimes lives the longest life of all, right? There's always been that question in the universe. Why do bad things happen to good people, right? Blase, blase, blase. No. Depending on what you believe in, they say good and bad happens to us all. But I'm here to tell you about this story, okay? Lauren Juma. All right. I'm going to go ahead and take the banner down for a second. Anybody that wants to rip that off, feel free. Hey, what's up to the chat? Hey, TRG, how are you? So you may, if you're in Texas, you may have heard of this case. Of course, photos are going around, around the world. The more details have come out on Nimitz High School teen that was murdered. Harris County, north of Houston. 60-year-old Van Brisbon has been charged with her murder. Lauren was a sophomore at Nimitz High School. She was at home with her mom's boyfriend of 5 years, and he is the one that is accused of murdering her. On top of being accused of murdering her, he also stands accused of, they are testing to see if Lauren was sexually assaulted. That is due to the details that have actually came out when he was arraigned, actually. And so these, the only thing I really want to say about to some of you, sometimes I just feel like I got to say this to some of you media people out there when you get to reporting on these crime stories. I know it can become a little bit arduous and it can become pretty basic and generic, and it gets to be where it's just a new picture, just a new face, same old story, right? But just think about the fact that this was a 16-year-old girl who was a sophomore in high school. And while you're touting around titles about her pants being found, around her ankles and shit like that, don't forget this was a 16-year-old girl. And also, I thought that sexual assault victims weren't supposed to be getting identified in the press like this, right? This lady lost her life. All I'm saying is some of you guys are a little heartless with these internet titles, don't you think? All to get that click and view, huh? Gotta fish these people in some kind of way. We don't have to have any decency. You could have tucked these details in the story. You didn't have to tout it as the main title, I'm just saying. These people, these murder victims and stuff like that, like, don't forget, like, people aren't just avatars on the screen. They're actually walking flesh. This is probably the mug shot you've been seeing, right? Van Brisbane, 60-year-old Van Brisbane, Humble, Texas. $60 old, at home. Okay, he's been with this lady for 5 years. Apparently, she had some children. Here, this is the local news here. This is KHOU.
$1 million
Of
for the
course,
man
he's still
accused of killing
alive,
his girlfriend's
walking into his
16-year-old daughter
arraignment.
Friday. Van Brisbane is charged in the death of Nimitz High School sophomore Lauren Juma. And tonight, we're learning more disturbing details about the crime following Brisbane's court appearance today. Aniele Ruiz is here to walk us through what happened. Aniele, we understand there could even be some changes to his charges.
That's right. It all depends on the evidence that investigators gather, but we do know that so far, as of today, his bond was increased from $1 million to $2 million. It was an emotional hearing for family members of 16-year-old Lauren Juma and also for family members of her alleged killer. Monday morning was 60-year-old Van Brisbane's first court appearance after he was charged with murdering Lauren.
I love my uncle to death. I swear I do. But I will never be able to understand how he did something like this to Lauren.
That was Brisbane's niece. She was wailing inside the courtroom during his hearing, and a bailiff had to ask her to step outside. But the details of this case were very graphic to hear. Prosecutors said on Friday Juma was found dead with her clothes in disarray. They go on to say that Brisbane was seen pulling up and adjusting his pants while coming out of their home after 2 shots were heard. Investigators say Lauren was on the phone with her mom and her sister prior to her death and said she woke up to Brisbane standing in the dark room acting weird. Prosecutors asking for a higher bond amount.
Asked for $2 million. And the judge granted it.
One thing his family made very clear, even though they're his blood relatives, they're supporting Lauren and her family.
People have to be accountable for their actions. If we don't hold people accountable for the things that they do wrong, then people will continue to do wrong.
His niece had this shirt made that says, "Here for Lauren," and she doesn't know how this could have happened.
How he could take her life from her, I can never understand it.
Just a very emotional hearing, as you can imagine. Now, the judge did ask prosecutors to rush the forensic evidence to see if Lauren was sexually assaulted. And if she was, there could be potentially some changes in the charges, and he could be charged with capital murder. But again, this will all be up to the Harris County District Attorney's Office to see if they can even prove this. Now, by the way, we did contact the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and they told me that when he was arrested on Friday, he did show signs of intoxication. Reporting live in the Harris County Courthouse, Aniele Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
Like, honestly, I wouldn't care what he was intoxicated with. Like, I'm just of an opinion.
ACG's got the smart tools to keep your cloud transformation on track.
I'm just of an opinion, to me, somebody, who rapes children, takes away a child's innocence like that. Nah, I'm not going to stop saying it. Like, on some real ass shit. Put the most heaviest rock around their necks, throw them in the middle of the ocean for all I care. They're above murderers to me, The way that the police described during his arraignment, the way that they described the details once those constables got there in front of that home, how those constables were actually standing outside of that home when those bullets, and they heard 2 gunshots, right? About 1 a.m. in the morning. It was actually Harris County Precinct 4 deputy constables. They were actually responding to a weapons disturbance. Lauren's sister had called police and said that her mother's boyfriend, he had been with her mother for 5 years, was holding her the 16-year-old sister, Lauren Juma, captive inside of their home. Kerika Harmon, right? This is the victim's sister, says that all Lauren wanted to do was get away. She said that he, meaning Van Brisbane, was acting very weird. And what I also heard was that she was actually on the phone with one of her family members in the room, and the last words that the family members heard Lauren say was that he had a gun. Now, the reason why there's all this talk about sexual assault and things like that is because, like I was saying, deputy constables pulled up. These gunshots that took place, or that they heard, actually happened after they were on the scene, right? They were getting on the scene. And allegedly, and I say that so loosely, Van Brisbane, that fat fuck that you seen walking in the court there in the orange, big nasty fat fuck, right? He walked out of the house pulling his pants up. One of the main things that detectives will look at, especially at a crime scene, is the disarray of clothing, right? And where said clothing is on someone's body. And like I said, a lot of y'all bloggers could have tucked the details on in the story, right? Could have been something you talked about, 10 minutes into your vlog, or, you ain't got to necessarily fish people out like that. But, the location of where her pants were found. When deputies arrived, they said they actually heard 2 gunshots. They heard a gunshot, screaming, and then a second shot. This 60-year-old fat fuck then comes out of the home, pulling his pants up, saying, quote, "Do what you have to do," end quote. Prosecutors actually told a probable cause court judge that police found Lauren Juma with her pants down. Investigators have said that, like I just said, Brisbane walked out of the home in Humble, where she was killed. He was pulling his pants up. Just a word of advice to family. And I know it's shocking going through this and everything, but, just stop a little short of saying how much somebody loves somebody and all that type of thing. This dude stands accused of shooting her, brutally shooting her, and possibly raping her. I don't think he cared about her too much. Lauren's mom and sister, who weren't home at the time, claimed they both spoke to her on the phone before her murder. Quote, "I just know my baby called me on the phone, FaceTimed me, and she said, 'Mom, help me.' She hung up the phone. That's the last time I heard her voice. Actually, I'm sorry, Mama, he's got a gun." Investigators said the mother of the victim was out of town at work when the incident happened. She said she had been in a relationship with this guy for 5 years. And this is like the part that makes me feel a little uncomfortable, but I guess, who am I, right? But the mother, Lauren's mother, said, quote, "He treated Lauren like she was his baby. I don't understand. He can rot in jail. He had no reason to take my baby's life." Yeah, you could have left the first part of that sentence off. But I understand grief and everything. Forgive my critique. It's just not very often I mean, guess I could be shocked every day, but all I'm saying is sometimes there are some cases, man, that just make no sense. And it ain't for a lot of us to try to make sense out of it. I know we try, but you can't understand something that's just completely not even understandable, right? Now, her sister had described what it was like when she arrived at the scene around 1 a.m. She said that she was there for 3 minutes before she heard 2 gunshots go off. She said she could just remember running up to the house and officers telling her to go back to her car. I wonder why you didn't turn that gun on yourself, Van Brisbane, and just put yourself out of your fat misery, you know? You could have just took yourself out at that point on some real shit. Again, Nimitz High School sophomore. She had just joined the cheer squad. She just joined and been accepted by the cheer squad. I'm going to drop a link here for the GoFundMe that has been established for this young lady for funeral expenses. I'm going to drop it in the chat. Hey, Centel, it's good to see you, baby. How are you? Good to see you, love. Again, I know a lot of this information is coming out because of this bond hearing.
Has been set for the man accused of shooting his girlfriend's teenage daughter to death. Van Henry Britt.
That's actually not the give me just a sec, y'all. Hold on. Yeah, I believe it was why even give the dude a bond, right?
KPRC2 Insider. You'll unlock
like he's really going to have $2 million
chance
anyway.
To spin the Houston Life
like
prize
I say,
wheel.
fuck him, right? I mean, fuck you. Give a fuck. That bitch could, like I said, throw him in the deepest part of the ocean as far as I'm concerned.
Kathy Hernandez joining us live from downtown. What was decided in the courtroom this morning, Kathy?
Good morning. All of this went down just a few minutes ago, so we are working to get you all of this information. But what I can tell you right now, a judge increased his bond to $2 million. This while investigators are waiting results to determine if Van Brisbane sexually assaulted the victim before he killed her. 60-year-old Brisbane is charged with murder and the death of his stepdaughter.
It's like the way that he's walking, this confident walk he's got. I just want to stick my foot out and trip that bitch like on some real shit. Like, oh, we're so confident. I mean, police were actually there, right? You could have stopped yourself. Yeah, I know they say he was intoxicated with something, but I wonder how long has he been like watching her like that? And I think this is a valid question to ask. Like, and I know it may seem weird, right? But sometimes I just wonder, like, these sexual assaults or these things that could drive a person to do something like this, even though they know that police are literally right outside the house. As long as they can sexually assault and orgasm, that's going to be enough to pull them away. And then they'll just put the cuffs on me. I did what I needed to do. Like, why? If that's the way this story comes across, like he didn't care. It was like, are there demons out there that so pointless, so stupid, so heartbreaking, like just so fucking pointless to do that? I'm sorry. I may even take this video down because, I try not to get like that. As I know. But, listen, I'm no news anchor either. I'm just like you. So I guess I love that part because the only rules I have to live by are my own. What's he going to do? Sue me? I dropped a link for her GoFundMe. Her family put this GoFundMe together. Her mother, actually. And in the caption, it says, "Hello, my name is Laura Young. I'm asking for your help for my 16-year-old daughter who was violently, tragically murdered. Due to her untimely death, we were not prepared for the financial burden we are faced with. Anything you can give would be greatly appreciated." Y'all know funerals ain't cheap, right? But I do see that she met her goal so far. Sometimes I like to see things like this go over the goal. I'll continue to monitor this. And there's actually, before I even close this out, give me just a sec because I want to check something really quick. I was trying to find a timeline, and maybe if any of y'all come across it, let me know. I was just trying to find the timeline of how long, like, this obviously was something that led into this right at 1 a.m, and she had been calling her mother saying that he was acting weird and said that, he has a gun. And that was literally the last words that her family heard her say. Um, I'm just curious what that time was that led up to that. So I was just seeing if there was any sort of timestamp on that before I ended this broadcast. So give me a sec. Because I believe, yeah. So Lauren had actually been at home alone with her mother's boyfriend, this fat fuck, in the early morning hours Friday when the sister said that's when she started calling, asking for help. She said he was being very weird, wanted me to pick her up, but it was a FaceTime call. So there would have been video, right? Sometimes you can do FaceTime with just audio too, but it says here specifically that the teen had also placed a FaceTime call to her mother, telling her that Brisbon was standing inside her room in the dark, and she wanted her mom to tell him to get out. And this is according to court documents. Now, her mother repeatedly told him, Brisbane, to leave. The call abruptly ended when Juma screamed, "Mom, he has a gun." I just know my baby called me on the phone, FaceTimed me, and she said, "Mom, help me." And she hung up the phone. It's the last time I heard a voice. I'm so sorry for your loss. You guys, I'll catch y'all next time.